Didn't you perform Halloween with Greg Harris?
I did, and that was actually a lot of fun. That was surprising because it was a different atmosphere than if you're singing at a bar. Because when you go to a convention, especially because I was singing with Greg Harris and everyone loves Greg Harris, it was such a welcoming environment, and everyone was. I mean, I felt like I could have gone out there and just crapped on the stage, and everyone would have been like, "Yay, good job!" Like everyone was so nice about it, and it kind of made it a lot more of a comfortable setting. So that was actually it was good because that was also my first convention ever. So I didn't know how nice fans were. I didn't know if they would we would go out there and they'd be like, "Whatever, you're not Japanese, I hate you," or something. I didn't know. I had no idea what to expect. And then once we got out there, everybody was just so nice and awesome and welcoming and great. It was really fun.
When you were in LA in the how long were you over there?
I was just there for a weekend. Yeah, we would record like 4 or 5 hours a day. I think it was just 4 hours a day for like 3 days.
And then they keep you in a hotel, or you had to?
I actually had a friend. My best friend since I was 15 lives in LA, and so I just stayed with her. Yeah.
How'd you get, into this character? Because it's kind of, well, like when I heard the voice, I thought it was a little girl.
Oh, thank you. That's a good compliment. How did I get into the voice? Well, I guess that was a voice that I used to use jokingly. That was always my cute voice, the Nina Tucker voice, when I was trying to be like, "Oh, look, I'm cute, oh, just to be silly. And so whenever I auditioned for it, I thought, oh, little girl, they're cute, right? I'll use my cute voice. So I just lucked out. And Colleen Klinkenbeard actually directed me on that, and she was very, very, very helpful on making sure that I stayed in voice and making it consistent and all that. Because it's not like, when I did that voice before jokingly, I would say one sentence as if I ever did a whole, session. It was like a 4-hour session to finish her. And it was, Colleen actually helped a lot. Colleen was great.
On the subject of staying with, do you find that if you stay with a friend where they don't have, we're at a studio, that they're more likely to call you back for another show or something?
Depending on the studio, and especially when you're doing dub work, because in the case of Final Fantasy, it was still considered kind of dub work because it was already recorded in Japanese. Usually the studio will not pay for wherever you're staying. That wasn't even a factor. It was just kind of understood, figure out a place to stay, and then you can come do it. But if I said, no, I can't find a place to stay, then I would have gotten hired. But luckily for me, I could stay with my friend for free, and I didn't have to pay for a hotel, so it was nice.
On the subject of dubbing gory stuff, I'm quite mistaken, but you were involved in Claymore, right?
Yes, I played Priscilla in Claymore.
How was that?
That was so much fun. So much fun, because that's such a dynamic character. She goes through, the first time you see her, she's just, crying because she just fought all these Yoma and is all like, "Oh, I'm so scared, oh, I'm sorry," just really, really kind of, she seems so timid, but then at the same time she's so powerful. And then whenever she, goes into she starts accessing her yoki, and she starts turning into a Yoma, and then she had the demon voice. And then when she did the awakened being, I'm sorry if I'm ruining anything as far as spoilers. And then when she turned to the awakened being, she was just so like totally zen and kind of sexy. That's probably the sexiest character I've ever played. And I never play sexy characters ever, unless they're 16, like Maho, I guess, is kind of sexy. But
I thought you said you never play sexy characters. What about Machine Girl?
Well, I guess she's. Well, she's 16, so there you go. Unless they're 16, I don't ever really play sexy characters. But yeah, so that was just a lot of fun to go through that whole transformation. It was just the most dynamic character I've ever played, and just a lot of fun. And it killed my voice doing whenever she was accessing her yoki, that totally killed my voice. And it was lucky because I recorded her as the awakened being after that, so my voice was already naturally like an octave lower than normal. So I didn't have to push at all. But then when I had to come back, when she comes back later, and do that voice again, I was like, oh crap. I don't know how to get that low again. So I think I had to scream a little in the booth to thrash my voice. That's very unhealthy. Don't ever do that. But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I really loved doing that.
So what's the interview process?
Oh, like the audition process? Audition. Well, when you come into audition, usually you'll come in and they'll give you a book of what we call sides. The sides will have a picture of the character. Maybe they might have a couple pictures of the character so you can get an idea of what they look like. And then it'll have anywhere from like 5 to 10 lines that are completely out of context. It's not a scene, it's just random lines completely out of context. Each one has a different emotional vibe, or if it's a character who has multiple voices, it'll have, you know, an example of each voice and whatnot. And you just pick, usually they'll let you pick 3 characters, and then you get a chance to read through them, and then they call you into the actual booth, with a recording booth. So you go into the recording booth, and in there, well, you're alone in the booth, but then there's like a control room that's right next to the booth, and you can see them through this little window. And it's the director and the engineer. And so the director will say, okay, just, you know, you slate your name, and if you have an agency, you can slate the agency and then the character. And so yeah, you do that, and then you just read all the lines, how you interpret them, and then they might go back and ask you to tweak a couple things, and then you go back and do what they said. Important when you're doing an audition, do what the director says. And then go on to the next character, and then they say, okay, thank you, and then you leave, and then wait and hope and pray that you got cast.
So is that like the first time that you see these characters?
Yeah.
There's no time to figure out.
Not usually. Whenever, in my case, whenever they call, I always ask them what the show is so that I can Google it and read up as much about it as possible. But of course, I never tell the director that, oh hey, yeah, I looked this up and I knew like everything about it, and so I think you should totally cast me. Don't ever do that. Go in, pretend like you're totally dumb and you have no idea, and then so that way when they're like, man, her instinct was right on, it's like, that was an instinct. That was me studying it. So yeah, I always try to study the show before I do it.
On that subject, will you watch clips of the show if you can? Like,
if I can find them, yeah.
Crunchyroll or YouTube or some place like that.
Yeah, I might YouTube it, and if I can find, even finding like AMVs that people make is helpful, because you can at least see the character in action, you know? So yeah, I'll try to find videos and whatnot. It's helpful.
Did you do preparation like that when you were doing the character of Yue from Negima? No, actually, I didn't start doing that until probably after Yue, because I remember I did that for Beck, but Yue, I didn't really know anything about it. They just took, actually what's funny about Yue, I just remember this, I didn't even, you know how you pick the 3 characters that you want to audition for, I didn't even pick her at all, and because there were so many, I can't remember who I picked. I think it was like Nodoka and Ayaka, or I don't know, just like, I don't know, people that I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. And because there were like so many freaking girls that I didn't even have a chance to really read through all of them. And then Colleen Klinkenbeard and Chris Kaysen were the ones who were running the auditions, and they're the ones who directed a lot of it. And they were like, so would you read for this girl? And I just said, yeah, all right. And they just said, you know, kind of just make her really dry and sarcastic. And I thought, I can do that. So originally I had just read her as myself. I just read her with my natural voice and just kind of like, yeah, okay, flat, sarcastic, whatever, I get it. And then I got cast just based on that. But then whenever I went in to record, they tweaked the voice to make her sound a little bit younger. And so now that's why Yue sounds the way she does now. But she originally just sounded like me.
Speaking of Negima,